Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have Andie Herrick here. And why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Sure. So my name's Andie. I am one of the owners of Untitled Business Solutions. Um, Separate from being an entrepreneur, I'm also dog mom to a wheelchair puppy. Um, and I'm in North Carolina, current state. I've lived all over the place, but for now, North Carolina. So, and
Awesome.
I don't know if you care to know what our business does, but
Yeah, let's hear about what Untimed Business does.
sure. So we provide support to small business owners. We like to think of ourselves as an entrepreneur's best friend. So we do proactive bookkeeping, graphic design, so logos and social media content as well. So we do handle Instagram support, not necessarily running around doing marketing, but content management, content support, and then tech integration. So if you are looking for somebody to build out integrations, make one software talk to another, onboarding flows, all of that kind of stuff. That's what we're doing over here. We've got a wonderful team that I'm proud to be the leader of.
So you're like increasing efficiency in a lot of small businesses where, you
Yes.
know, another business that let's say another business doing like, I don't know, $10 million and has 100 employees or something like that. And
Mhm.
this small business is trying to get to $1 million. Instead of having the overhead of, let's call it 10 employees, you
Yes.
find a way to increase their efficiency with like 3 or 4 employees, kind of thing, right? Where you have
Mhm.
a lot of things automated in their systems and processes.
Yep. We go in, we audit their, if we're doing tech integration, we go in, we audit their current workflow, and we find ways to reduce how the number of manual steps. So, if somebody is having, 15 steps in order to accomplish a goal, and it's a person doing all 15 steps, can we reduce that by five? Can we use technology to complete five of those actions that a person is then doing only 10 of them? Um, we really like doing that for onboarding, both employee and customer onboarding, because it affects the experience people have. Right. And if we can go in and automate and integrate things, it's also going to be a more consistent experience every time. So
Yeah,
it's a
no,
lot of fun.
it makes sense because like my friend has a business and he uses this email server, and the email server maxes out at something like, I want to say 100 megabytes or something per email address. It's like this weird setup, but he could have like 50 email addresses. And every month, one of them peaks out and he spends 4 or 5 hours moving the emails to these other new emails so that his main email can be free. And I say to him, listen, you can get Google Workspace for like $7 a month, or you could have a better one for $15 a month. What is your time worth? Because your time's probably 50 to $100 an hour.
Or
50,
more.
and that's what I use, the Google Workspace. You're gonna have like, I think it's like 1 terabyte of space. You like my email, I don't know, I have probably a few gigs already in emails and pictures and stuff I get from clients all the time, right? And like I don't have to deal with any of that because the way I look at things, if you're taking a couple hours to do something, it's not worth my time. Like right now, I have when an e-commerce order comes in, I'm doing everything manually, but I'm doing everything manually because my e-commerce is still growing.
Right.
But I'm well aware of what workflows I can use. Like if I want to use a Zapier plugin, or if I want to use
Yep.
any of these other um, work systems or whatever and put them in place to get rid of a lot of that extra work, I can do that. But I just was trying to stay away of paying the extra $50 a month because I'm still at that early stages. I feel like I'm coming close to that. I'm probably 6 months away, I think, of where I'm going to start adding the integration in because it's taking up too
Sure.
much of my time.
Mhm.
Because probably every order is, I want to say 10 minutes. And let's say I have 10 orders a month, it's going to get to that point where if I have, I think, 15 or 20 orders a month, I'm going to go, it's not worth my time anymore. I need this thing
Right.
automated. So it just auto generates to my invoicing system. So I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about anything anymore. So I'm
Yep.
not there
And
yet, but
I
that,
get it. But that's exactly right. You start something, you do it the way that it can be done, kind of like the boots on the ground, on a budget, shoestring situation. You do what you need to do until there's more budget, there's more revenue generated to improve. I think that there's a saying that we use a lot of the time. My business partner is an engineer, and in her previous career, she was at a Fortune 500 company going around doing system and process work. That was her whole deal. And the mindset that they lived by was hold it, tape it, bolt it, weld it. So when you're, implementing a change or making an improvement, you just do what you can to just hold it up there. For your case, that's going to be, doing it manually in the beginning, and then, make an improvement as you go. So then you can have a more permanent solution, a more permanent solution, a more permanent solution. But you just test it initially, right? Like if something's broken on a machine, you don't immediately go to welding because you're not sure if that's going to fix it. And then you've permanently affixed the situation.
Oh yeah. No, that's
hold it, tape it, bolt it, weld it. Yep.
Yeah, you gotta, it's all a process, right? And
yeah,
everything, I've done so many different things where I thought I fixed something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, customers, I always say customers are going to let you, if you're willing to listen to customers, they're going to give you the answers most of the time. And that's the big thing. You have to, in business, you have to be willing to listen. And if you're not going to get moved forward. Mm-hmm. And that's, I got to say that's one thing that's been great is I'm listening. And right now I'm frontline. So I'm dealing direct with the customer. I'm talking to them on the phone. I'm texting them. I'm emailing them. Right. And I'll ask them straight up, what did you like about it? What did you not? Right now, everybody's giving me the website's awesome. I love it. There's so much content in there. I'm learning so much stuff. But early on, when I started the website, I had a professional build it. I wasn't overly impressed with it, but so I took it on and redid the whole thing myself. Mm-hmm. And then I was all like, it did such a good job. And then I went and some customers are like, yeah, this was kind of confusing. And I could have taken that as like a, hey, you know what? I don't like that person's feedback. And I could have just like shut down and been like, whatever, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's never built a website. But instead, what I did was, what did you not like about it? What did you like about other customers' websites? Why did you decide to go with me? And early on, it was, we decided to go on you because of price. Okay. So I was less than somebody else early on. That's fine. Okay. So I still got customers, which was fine. But the thing is at that point now I started listening. Okay. What am I doing wrong? What could I be doing better? And then because of that, I started adding things in. And I started doing in stages and then reaching out. I was in a lot of different networking groups and I asked people, what should I do? And they said, use Hotjar. So I don't know if you've ever used Hotjar, but Hotjar shows where people are clicking on your website. And so I started learning, holy crap, they're clicking on stuff that isn't clickable. So this is how people are. And it would show you like 10 people tried clicking on this picture, but the picture went nowhere. So then I started, okay, let's make that picture clickable and go somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm converting and selling more stuff. And it's just interesting watching how everything evolves and you can watch it all in real time, So
yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of just giving you kind of, some systems processes. It's just how you analyze things and look at it. And you can either just look at it and go, oh, cool, they're clicking on that. And yeah, I don't know why. And you could do this whole like, people are stupid, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what you could do. But then you could go, well, why are people clicking on that? There must be other websites that it's clickable. So we should change that. And that's all about adapting and changing and analyzing things, right?
And absolutely. It's about knowing whose perspective matters, right? Yeah. Like I need to have a website that's authentic. I need to have a website that communicates who we are. But what I think gets that across and what actually gets that across may not be the same, right? I'm not my target audience, my ideal client, my ideal customer, my community. That's who I'm speaking to.
Oh yeah.
So I worked as a social worker before I became an entrepreneur, and there is a concept called receptive versus, oh my gosh. Receptive versus expressive language. It took me a
Okay.
second to find my words. So a lot of people will think, well, I've expressed myself well, but did I understand well? Right? Like they're two different skill sets of speaking well versus hearing well. So receptive language is identifying what words people are using and how they make sense and piecing them together. And some of that is comprehension. And then expressive language is, vocabulary, the ability to articulate. And so sometimes people can be good at, in special education, expressive and not receptive, or vice versa. And I think as business owners, that's the key, or entrepreneurs or leaders, management, that's the key, to be both good at expressive and receptive language.
Yeah.
Am I
No. So
speaking? Can I communicate? Can I hear well? Do I receive well?
I
Am I
think,
humble? Am I open-minded? And am I willing to change? Am I improvement-minded? Is my ego wrapped up in it? Right? Like, do I feel like my value is based in whether or not my website is well received? I have got to let that go. My business is not, and I think this is an important component for a lot of business owners. My worth, my value is not the performance of my business. As long as those two things are correlated, I'm not going to be able to listen well. I'm not going to be able to take input well. I'm not going to be able to hear my customer and take the open-minded approach that they may well know better than me.
oh yeah, your
I've got
customers are going
to
to
detach.
dictate.
Yeah. Yep. If I can remember that my value and my worth are separate from the performance of my business, lo and behold, guess what's going to perform better? My business system.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Like 100%. And people definitely get lost in this, right? In terms of uh, how they want to, I guess, how they communicate. I guess where I'm a good listener, and I think this isn't going to go off track, but there's a story I tell lots of people. So many years ago, I used to work at Best Buy, and the one Best Buy I worked at, we there was it was in an area which had a different culture, um, was very heavily populated in that area, and they come in and they're very aggressive, and I always took it personally for many years because I worked in that area for many years, and
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, one day I just felt like asking this customer I had good rapport with, hey man, why is it that you are the way you are? Like, why are you so aggressive towards me? Like, I don't do anything to you. And he explained to me, this is just how our culture is raised. This is how we are. We're very aggressive in negotiations. If we can save $1, it's $1 more in our pocket than in yours. So that's just why. He goes, it's who we are. We barter, we barter, we barter, we barter. And I was like, oh, okay. So as soon as I understood that,
Mm-hmm.
and understood that that's how that culture likes to negotiate and talk and everything, it came to the point where it's $400 plus tax, and they go $390. I go, okay, 410, right? Because then I'd
Mm-hmm.
start playing games because I started
Yeah.
understanding how they work, right? And
Right.
then next thing you know, it's like, okay, I'll do it for 395, because I knew
Mm-hmm.
they just want to win, and that's all it was understanding. They just want to win. They don't want, if I put it for 499 and I normally sell for 400, and then I gave it for 400, they feel like huge winners. but that's just that's how they were trained. They're trained to just, if it's $1 off, that's $1 more in their pocket, right?
And that is the importance. Discounting is, and haggling is kind of a
Yeah, it's a
conversation.
different
But
thing, but just understanding.
the difference of $5. Like, okay, it's $5, but what's that worth? For you to have that insight that it causes them to have a change of state of emotion in a positive regard. Guess who they come back to? Because they're like, nobody else here ever takes the time to understand that I want, and this is all subconscious, but nobody here ever takes the time to understand that all I want is a deal, except Ben. Ben's the guy that gives you the deal. You go there, you see Ben. Every time they need to buy something, who are they going to come track down?
Well,
Ben.
that's what it is. That's all it was, right? It's just understanding. And as soon as I understood that, it was like, okay, they just don't want to pay sticker price, right? They don't care that it's on sale and it's already $150 off. And the best I could do is give you another $5 off. Okay, let's book it in. And it's like, but they want to win, right? And it's funny though, because my dad is 100% that way too. Like he will drive around, probably spend $200 on gas to save another $10, so he can say, "I saved another $10."
I get it.
But you wasted $200 on gas driving around to save that $10. Yep.
It's the psychology of purchasing. And I think that's an important consideration as well when we're working with customers and when we're developing our systems. When I do something this way, what's the effect going to be? How's it going to cause somebody to feel? What's it going to cause them to think? Right? We're all selling something, a product or a service,
Yes.
right? That's really the only two things you can ever sell: product, service, maybe knowledge, right? That's somewhere between the two, because you're selling someone your expertise, your accumulation of knowledge over time. But typically product or service. I just lost my train of thought again.
You're talking about product or service. And
yeah,
basically we're talking about kind of like a consultant.
I remember. Yeah. So you're selling them a product or a service, but that's just the tangible. But what you're actually offering to someone is a change of state. And I think as business owners, if we can understand that we're not selling what we're selling the change that what we're selling affects, the conversations go differently. Right. And so it's understanding what I was saying, that it's the change of feeling, the change of thinking. The product or the service is the mechanism by which a change is accomplished in the way someone feels or the way that they think. Somebody comes in to see you, they need a camera. Okay, great. They're not buying a camera. They're buying security. They're buying visibility. They're buying, some sense of superiority of their technology, something. And it's not always the same for every person, but the change of state is what they're after.
Yeah. I've been really trying to push on all these podcasts that people are buying stuff from people they know, like, and trust.
Exactly.
And after I finished 75 Hard at the end of November, I went hard on building these YouTube videos, like really hard on building YouTube videos. And I mean, I looked, I think I have 41 videos now done in 2 months, like what, two and a half months, I guess now. Right. So yes. Like I've just been going nuts with it. And some of them, like how Andie talks on his podcast, don't go look at my old ones. They're embarrassing. Well, there's a few that I'm like, man, that's brutal. Right. But I got it done. It got finished. And people are going, oh, wow. The same guy in the video is coming to my house. The same guy in the video is picking up the phone. What? Right. And they're just like, they think I have this big corporation of like 5 or 10 people driving around, going to everybody's houses. And because I'm being who I am. I'm doing all these videos, educating clients because, basically my mission statement says we want to supply, install, and educate on dash cameras. That's part of my mission statement. Right. So not just, hey, here you go, here's your camera and pop it out. Right. We're not like, I'm not trying to play the whole moving boxes. Obviously we want to make sales at the end of the day, but we really want to focus on educating our clients. Right. Yeah. And making sure they understand the technology and the fact that they can relate. They know who I am. I'm just showing that my personality being raw. It's completely good. I mean, I can't believe the things that I have been doing and accomplishing, and the business just continuously keeps growing because, it's like even the other day, this person emails me, which one should I buy out of the ones you recommended? I said, oh, have you watched these videos that I've made? Boom, send the videos. Okay, that's awesome. Those videos are great. Okay, now I have a hybrid vehicle. What is your opinion of hybrid vehicles? Well, actually, I got a blog and I own an electric vehicle myself. Oh, okay. Here, read this. And then he's like, I can't believe how much information there is. So I'm going to get my wife's vehicle done. Then the next day he emails me. Listen, he goes, please give me a call. So, okay, I gave him a call. This was yesterday. I am so impressed by the amount of information you have on your website and how quickly you responded to my emails with more information. I'm getting another 4 vehicles done. I was like, what? Holy crap. So now I'm doing like just me being me, showing the information that I've developed, because I know these are a lot of the common questions people are asking. And that's similar to our systems and processes, right? So what ends up happening is someone keeps contacting me going, hey, will my dash camera work on my home Wi-Fi? Right? A week later, will my dash camera work on my home Wi-Fi? And I go, you know what? I got to make a video about this. I got to make a blog about this. So what do? Make a blog about it, make a video about it. And I direct people to all these popular videos because it gets rid of those common questions that are asked all the time. It educates them. And now they see me on camera talking about it. And I'm developing rapport with them without even actually meeting them.
Right.
Right.
And it's so powerful to have that. And I think this is where people get caught up because they think, well, I'm going to create all this content or whatever when I have time. I've got to keep working. I've got to be over here busy. I've got to get stuff done, but I'll do that later when I have time. When I'm successful, that's when I'll start to make those improvements. And that is the most empowering thing. If I could get everyone to understand this about systems and processes, it would change lives. The idea that you don't have time not to. You have got to make the time. You're already going to answer that question once. Answer it once in a medium that is going to be evergreen, right? Write the blog post, capture the video. That way, when you're answering the question, it's a consistent answer every time. It's consistent and it's relatable. And then you have more time to go back and do the other things that are on the list, right?
Oh, yeah.
Spend the 10 extra minutes and document it well the one time, the answer to whatever that question is. And I put it somewhere people can find it or that I can refer them to, like a YouTube video. And then I don't ever have to spend that 10 minutes answering that question again. So people are like, I don't have time. You don't not have time. You have to have the time. You're already spending it. You can spend it putting fires out, answering the repetitive questions over and over and over again and never get ahead. Or you can invest a few extra minutes that one time and then never have to spend the time again, which what you're saying is true. Then you have the ability to be responsive. You have the ability to help people feel educated because you're giving someone 40 minutes of your time explaining all of this stuff. But it was 40 minutes you invested 6 months ago or whatever it was. Like so, you're able to give the same 40 minutes to the next 100 customers, but you only invested it once. But they're all having the experience of you spending that 40 minutes with them because your face is on the camera, or it's your words, or you're the one that picks up the phone. And I made this mistake early in business. People are very often quick to say, I want a big team. I want a lot of people. I want a lot of employees. That's what success looks like. I'm like, is it though? Like, is it really? Like, sometimes it is, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, okay, I've got 500 employees and I've got this big, massive building and this big, huge team. So we've flipped that script the other direction in terms of customer experience. How efficient can we be? How innovative can we be? How can we run with a lean budget? And that word is kind of contentious and, lean. And my business partner is trained in lean. My family is serial entrepreneurs and I'm trained in Deming. So competing, but similar theories. But that's the question. Like, how lean can we run this? How efficient can we run this? Like, how scrappy can we be here? And that means people really have that sense of relationship, that sense of being cared for, that sense of knowing us as the owners. I'm the one that sends out a contract. I'm the one that is the salesperson initially. I'm the one that's on the kickoff call. I'm the one that calls them 3 days later after they've onboarded. Hey, Joe, how's it going? I know you kicked off with Catherine. She's an amazing team member, but I want to make sure you're having the experience that you ought to be having. Is anything awry? Has anything gone wrong? Is there anything you're loving about the experience? Is there anything we can do to exceed your expectations? Not just meet them. What can we do to exceed your expectations of us? Right? I can do that because we've figured out how to be more efficient, because we figured out how to automate, because we've stabilized our system. It's consistent every time. It goes from this to this to this. These pieces connect. So anyways, I will get off my soapbox now, but
Oh no, that's fine.
it
No,
just
like
it matters. The system has got to be consistent. It's got to be efficient. It's got to be reliable and predictable. And it's really great if it has your face in there somewhere.
so this is so we kind of talked earlier, I think off camera, but about I said to you that if someone asks me about something once
Mhm.
and then someone asks me about it again, it's like alarm bells go off, right?
Absolutely.
So as soon as like a second time happens, I go, okay, what do I need to fix in my systems and processes
Mhm.
to stop this from happening over and over and over again? So
Mhm.
for instance, early on, I went to a customer's house. They say, no, I finished the job. They said, well, what do you mean it's that price? It's supposed to be this price. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, I have the emails here documenting that. Well, they were confused because the link goes to what the price of the product only is on the website.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, there's obviously, like you said it was okay. Either way, I came to an agreement between myself and the customer, but then I realized there's obviously an issue here in my systems and processes, because if this customer thought it was this price, I can't have this happen again.
Mhm.
So what do I end up doing? I've added in the sales order process, which is common at most companies. So once somebody books an appointment, they get emailed a sales order. Here you go. Here's a sales order. Sales order confirms the amount, also reserves inventory, takes and reserves the inventory for the appointment. Okay, boom. That fixes two things all at once. Now it reserves the inventory. It'll show me if I'm oversold or not.
Mhm.
The second thing it does is sends them a sales order confirming the amount. Then what I ended up finding out, I always get asked, how do I pay? Do I pay Visa, MasterCard? Is it cash only? Is it, all these questions over and over again, just keeps getting asked to me. And I'm going, man, I'm wasting my time writing Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Visa, MasterCard, Amex over and over and over again. And so what do? I created a whole page for how the appointment day works and when we arrive and what's
Yeah.
involved when we arrive, where we're going to mount the camera, how payment works, how the sales order works, how the demo works. I
Mhm.
created a whole web page for that. Now, when I email the sales order, it says, please read this link. It will answer most of your questions. Boom. Sales order sends that link, sends them a copy of the confirmed amount. So what does it do? It gets rid of all those questions. Now, of course, I would say about 25% of people won't read the web page. So what do I do?
Right.
I created a YouTube video of that entire page of me speaking and pictures popping up that are off that page showing sales order. You're going to get this. You can't pay it, but it confirms your amount. And it just has everything going
Mhm.
forward, because all I keep doing is finding what can I continuously do to improve my process. And so many places I've worked for know what their problems are, but they just keep doing the same thing over and over again and talking about how, yeah, we really need to fix that, instead of just taking action and fixing it.
And, it's interesting. You are so smart to identify the root cause. Why is someone having this lack of clarity? Why does someone not understand? Why do I keep getting this question? What is it about my system that needs to be adjusted? But it makes the supposition that you are a system thinker, right? Continuous improvement is valuable for you because you understand that you're operating and maintaining a system.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if somebody's at a workplace that does not understand, it's an ecosystem that they're in. There's chosen and imposed inputs, a conversion process, and desirable and undesirable outcomes. And then there's some feedback, right? Like if you do not understand that that's what a business is, it makes sense to me that people would say, "Oh, we'll get to it someday. We'll get to it someday." Because it's not the idea that if I change an input or something about my conversion process, I will get a different output. Right? If they don't know that, if they're not thinking about that, then it's just, well, we'll get to it eventually. But we have to run our business now. And so it's the change in perspective of what's my job? Is my job to deliver orders, or is my job to maintain a system? It's the system's job to deliver on orders. It is my job to maintain the system. But somebody's got to be responsible. And so often it's, well, Sam or Frank or Ken or Joe or Nate or whoever is the worker, and orders aren't going out. It must be their fault. That's what happens a lot of times. If someone, as the leader of a system, doesn't realize that that's their role. So it's a bunch of finger pointing. Well, it's his fault. It's his fault. It's his fault. It's his fault. And then they all leave and they quit because they're upset and it's not going the way they wanted to. And they get all new staff and they have the same problems and they can't figure out why. It's your system.
I've seen this. I worked for a company that's a big box company. They have a lot of stores across Canada, and they still get a sales. So they get a sales guy. Okay. And most of these sales guys are just above minimum wage, and they sell a product. And let's say the product there's no stock on it. Okay. They will not order it at head office unless that guy who just sold the product fills out an Excel sheet, attaches a copy of the invoice, and sends it to head office. They won't order it. Instead of having it automated, which will probably cost, because there are a lot of stores, probably like $500,000 or something stupid like that, right? Because it's not usually cheap to automate that stuff when you're that many stores or whatever. Instead of having it automated, where it automatically sends information to them saying it needs to be ordered, needs to be shipped to this store, boom, boom, boom. It already has the salesman's name on it. They don't do that. They make you have to fill out this Excel sheet and do it. And guess what? You know how many times that Excel sheet gets forgotten to fill out because another customer's waiting to get service? Do you know how many times the manager ends up doing it at the store because he ends up finding it a week later when the customer calls and goes, hey, when's my product going to be here? All these things, I just look at it. It's like the system's so broken and you can't run like this. And I would watch refund after refund happen because my $1,000 item still hasn't been ordered. It's been 3 weeks. What's going on with that? Oh, well, Dave quit. He doesn't work here anymore. So yeah, it just never got done. And that, how is that supposed to be acceptable?
Because of what we just talked about, nobody's taking ownership of the system. And
then it's just Dave's fault. Well, Dave's not here anymore. Well, the problem is your systems are broken. They're completely broken.
But that only matters if they understand that they're running a system. And exactly what you're saying, just like what we talked about with time, people don't necessarily invest time to make the improvement because they feel like they don't have it. Same thing with money. So, of course, we had the conversation that as you are the facts of life issues, you have as much revenue as you have coming in. And so you're doing 10 orders a month, if we can go back to that piece of the conversation. Yeah. So some of it's going to be manual. There's improvements that can be made, but you're not going to make them until the revenue justifies it, right? Like I could do that, but it doesn't make sense to do it yet. It's working well enough for now until it doesn't, until I scale and there's a stress test and it doesn't pass anymore. It's the exact moment at the point in time at which you will make a change. It's the same thing with money. People look at it and they say, I can't afford to fix that. I know it's broken. I don't have the budget. We don't have the revenue for it. Okay. Then let's quantify it. What is it costing you? Just like with the emails and the videos that you then created and captured, that saves you those 40 minutes every time. Same thing with the money. Every time somebody has to attach that order to an email and put it in an Excel sheet and send it to corporate or to the home office to get an order in place, that's their spend. How many people are doing that every day? How do you calculate the delay, all the canceled orders, the loss of revenue? How many people are then not repeat customers? So, it's really,
it's crazy. The ripple effect that people don't think about. Oh,
and so that's what I'll ask people. Okay, well, could you figure out a way to pay for this over time? Could you set up payment terms? Maybe you can't pay it all up front, but can you find a service provider who's willing to have you pay in installments? So if it saves you, if they do the work and you can scrap together 50% and pay half up front. And then a month later, after they've done the work, implemented the solution, and you start recouping some of the spend, 100 orders per store and there's 50 stores. How much money is that? Okay, great. And that's where it comes into about having those relationships with your vendors. So I maybe can't afford the spend, but I can't afford to not have the solution, rather than just saying, well, I'm up a creek, or I'm going to have to spend the time to teach myself. Could you find someone who's willing to work with you? Could you find another small business, create that relationship with them, and set up terms that work for both of you? They get your business, they get your money, and you get your solution. It's being open-minded to the creative solutions we can implement to improve our systems and processes.
So I'm going to give you, I'm going to do a little bit of a scenario here for people who are listening. So let's say you're paying an employee $5,000 a month. Okay. Salary. They're working 160 hours and doing the easy math. That's $31.25 an hour. I was just brought up the calculator here while you were finishing talking there. Okay. Now let's say every single month because I think this is what goes on wrong is a lot of business owners go, well, I'm already paying this guy $5,000 a month and he spends 2 or 3 hours on it every single month doing it. And I'm already out that $5,000, right? So we times that by 3, let's time by 12. That's $1,125 a year. Okay. That you're paying out in wages, which might not seem like much, because if you're paying somebody $50,000 a year, like whatever, but it's 3 hours a month, 36 hours a year. Now let's say Bob quits. He's no longer gone. He's gone now, and he's the only one who knows how to do this. Now, how much is that? $1,125. Now you're going to get somebody who doesn't know how to do it. Probably going to take 6 hours to do it, because they're going to have to learn it and try and figure out how to do it. May not even be done in the same way. Or maybe you can find a way to automate that process, or find a way to be more efficient so all the employees are capable of doing it. And now maybe it only costs you $50 a month or $25 a month, because some of these automated processes cost you next to nothing. But now I used to work for a company where there was somebody, and she was a freaking superstar, but she even told me 25% of her month was fixing and creating reports and programs to fix all the inefficiencies in the operating software and how it actually, just to make systems flow smoothly within the company, all because they didn't want to pay $20,000 for an upgrade, because they were looking at the $20,000 upgrade. And this person probably was making at least $50,000 or $60,000 a year. She's a very smart person. And guess what?
They're going to pay $15,000 worth of salary every year forever for her to maintain something, to avoid spending $20,000 once.
Yeah. It doesn't even make sense, right? But they don't think like this. So instead of, and this is why businesses, like we were talking earlier, I have a big whiteboard behind me of all these things I want to do, videos I want to make, blogs I need to write, and I'm constantly adding on it. Podcast interviews I need to do, right? Podcast interview people I want to interview and try and get on the podcast. I have all these things that I want to do all the time. And guess what? I won't have time to do that if I'm sitting here 3-4 hours every single week doing something that I should have already automated.
Right.
And that's where people aren't thinking about it. Like my buddy saying, I just don't have time to do this. I'm like, but guess what? If you got rid of your email challenge that you spend 4 hours on it every single month, you now have 4 hours a month. You now have 48 hours available a year. What could you have done with that 48 hours? Because I guarantee you probably could have made 20 plus videos for YouTube and edited them in that 48 hours.
Yeah.
So now you have 20 videos out there, which will help grow your business. But you're not thinking like that. You're just thinking, I'm paying $10 a month for this amazing email server I've had for like 8 or 9 years already, and I don't want to change because I'm worried I'll lose that old information that I've had saved. Instead of, hey, you could hire a professional, might cost a couple $100 to get them to migrate it over to Google Mail. But guess what? Now you have that 4 hours free every single month.
Yeah. And this is where the concept of low-hanging fruit comes in, right? Like what you're saying, that email situation is low-hanging fruit. That's a quick fix. It is not expensive. It will not take very long. It is very clear that the amount of time it would take is shorter than what he's investing to do that stopgap solution every month. Yeah. Like at any time he wants to stop doing that, all of that savings goes straight to his bottom line, whether it's bottom line of time or bottom line of money. It's not like what we were saying about that box store and the email orders where they're going to have to spend a lot up front. And it's
that's a big company, right?
So that's, I don't think people will say, well, I'm not going to make the changes because they are obstinate. It's not that they're just opposed to doing well in business. Sometimes it's about walking, in my perspective, when I've done some of the consulting or coaching, it's about walking somebody through what their resistance points are and getting them some quick wins, right? Like, can we evaluate your system and figure out the things you could do with a limited investment of money or time to get some quick wins so you get some traction and create a little breathing room? And that's where our company comes in a lot of time, right? We're doing bookkeeping, we're doing graphic design. People can make stuff for themselves. They can use Paint, or they can use Canva, or they can use Adobe or whatever. Like, you can get something put together that's good enough, but it's the low-hanging fruit. Invest a little bit of time, invest a little bit of money in working with us. Let us get you some breathing room. We have a team of experts. They're going to be really efficient. We're going to get you some quick wins, get you some breathing room so you can go reinvest that time. You can go reinvest that money. We'll be over here cheering for you, helping you come up with ideas. Like, what's the low-hanging fruit we can get off of your plate? And it's the same thing with money. If somebody says, well, I only have $100, amazing. Let's figure out how to get you some breathing room. Let's figure out how to get one thing off your plate so that you can go make another $100 and do it again. Maybe it's 110 the next time, and then 200 the next time, and then 250 the next time, and then 500, right? It's creating that momentum for yourself, whether it's time or money. So I think, that's a big thing when people say, I just don't have time, or I just don't have the money. What could you do for free? What could you do that wouldn't take very long?
Yeah, it's true. But not everybody's thinking that way. And that's the problem, right? Yeah. It's like we're all wired differently, right? Mm-hmm. And some of us are more concerned about managing the net profit report than we are looking at the long-term success. Mm-hmm. I could pay myself a lot more than what I'm paying myself right now, but I'm looking at, hey, if I pay myself just what I need to live right now, all the extra profit I can keep pushing right into the business to keep growing it and keep growing it, and to kind of give you an idea. So I've done a bunch of these podcasts, and you see behind me, a bunch of people think I'm in a studio and I'm like, they're just roll up banners. That's all these are. These are like $150 each with some graphics I designed on Canva. This is not like anything, immaculate. And behind me here, which you can't see, it's just a $40 ring light I got at Costco that they had on sale, right? It's nothing extravagant, right. And honestly, I just have a bar table here. Mm-hmm. This actually was expensive because we used to use it lots, but realistically, this is all just, it's making and maximizing the efficiency of the space I have. Mm-hmm. Like, my total warehouse, work desk, whiteboard, shipping area, and hold shelf for clients, I think I'm 150 square feet, this whole thing, right? Yeah. I've squished it all in here. I think it's 10 by 15 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But like I showed PJ or whatever, I think it was, I was showing him, he's like, holy smokes, like, how did you make that all fit in here? I'm like, it's all just an illusion. But there's people who always have that whole, I need more space, I need more of this. No, you just need to maximize it. And that's why, just to hit on my core values, which I think a lot of ours align because of how we think, my core values are efficiency, integrity, urgency, authenticity, and continuous improvement. right? And it's all about finding ways to continuously improve and finding ways to be 100% efficient in how I do things. And this is just, maybe it's an illusion, but you just have to find ways to be efficient. You don't, like, I don't need to be in a studio. I don't need to rent. I don't need to have like a 12 by 12 room dedicated to doing podcasts. I just need to have an area to do this. And people just need to realize that you don't need to be so fancy. You just need to take action and do it and find ways.
If I can offer you feedback, are you open to that?
Yeah, sure.
So I heard you say a couple of times, people just need to, but they don't need to. I can spend my energy. It's the same conversation we've been having. I can spend my energy all wound up into a pretzel because they should be doing it different. They should be doing it different. Why are they like that? They could be, but they don't have to, right? Like they could. And I'll hold space for that. I have a lot of compassion for people who are not yet open to the transformation of thinking. That is okay. I will be here when they're ready. And that's what I appreciate about this podcast, right? Like you're creating the content so it's here when they're ready, if they're ready, when they so choose, should they want to. And it's also really okay if that's not what they choose, because everyone is going to transform. And that's what our aim is, to own and operate a model virtual business solutions company that transforms thinking and improves lives. I don't care if it's my vendors. I don't care if it's my team, my employees. I don't care if it's my business partner, myself, our clients, our community that we're in. Transform thinking, improve lives. That is what we're driving at. And our core values are the culture that we've created around doing that. But that's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to transform. Not everyone wants to think differently. And it is really okay. I will eat up your market share like a piranha. And I will be compassionate towards you in the meantime. I'm not going to do it at you, but I'm not going to wait for you.
Like a beast, you just go in there.
There's a sense truly of compassion for you. Of course, I'm a social worker. You heard that in the beginning before I was a social worker. And so I really do have that sense of, I love you where you're at. Do you? Like, if that's not your journey, okay, great. I'm going to be over here grinding it out. And when you're ready, I'll take your money as a consultant. I'll mentor you. Happy to do it. And if not, I've got this great podcast. You can listen to it. You have one. I have one, right? We talk about systems and processes on ours. 2 Chicks in Your Cheddar for anyone who's interested.
Awesome.
But we do. We use our aim to make decisions. That's what we tell our team. If you are not sure what decision to make, I'm going to give you a framework. Because sometimes there's people that aren't the leaders of the system who are system minded, right? We've talked about that a lot, that you're the owner of the system is your job, but you don't have to be. You can follow Jocko Willink and you can lead up the chain of command. So sometimes you just get somebody, they're like, well, what can I do? I'm an employee. I'm not the owner. Just improve what you can in your own space, right? Transform your thinking, improve your life. Maybe someday find a different job or a different company or create your own that gives you more autonomy. But do what you can where you can. Transform thinking, improve lives where you're at. And for us, the core values that I'll share, exemplify nurturing behavior, of course, very on brand for me. Exemplify nurturing behavior, strive for excellence. We're not going to hit it every time, but we're going to aim at it. Default to integrity, right? Keep it weird because we like to have fun over here. We're not just all business. We want to have a personality. We want people to know that. We want to exude positivity. So if I can help it, can I change the script when I'm grumpy or when I'm pissed off or stressed out? How can I flip the narrative? And how can I lead my team to do the same thing so they're not all run around like sour apples? Can we have a bias for action? So I loved what you said about having a sense of urgency. Ours is similar, having a bias for action. When in doubt, do the thing. Forgiveness, not permission. And I have some timid folks on my team. I've got some bookkeepers who are a little timid, and we've worked through that. Like, you can do the thing, be afraid. I'm not going to eat you alive, right? I'm not going to kick you out just because you took an action. Like, it might not be the best, but at least it got done. And we can go back and tell people like, hey, we just defaulted to taking action. We wanted to get you taken care of. We realized we missed the mark. can we make that right for you? And
Well,
the last one is FitFo. Like sometimes you just got to dig in and FitFo, figure it the F out. Right? Like Google some things. Google some things. YouTube has a lot of information. And if that doesn't work, I'll sit down and Google with you. And if that doesn't work, we'll find a training and pay for it. Or we'll phone a friend, call an expert. I don't know. Hire help. But in the
yeah.
meantime, let's just try and figure it out for ourselves. Like let's get innovative. Let's get curious. Let's get inspired. Let's take some action. So, anyways, that's for us. Our
Oh
core
no, that's
values.
awesome. The Fitfo, that's hilarious. It's awesome.
We
My
took it,
sister,
someone else somewhere else said it. And I was like, ooh, we're going to steal that. So whoever you are, I don't remember, but thank you.
yeah, no. So my sister used to be working with college pro painters,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd manage, a whole bunch of these guys and girls, whatever, right? And anyways, they'd call her and ask her some question like, blah, 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 like which color goes with this or something, like, like little questions. And she's like, did you Google it? No, Google it and call me back if you have any questions. And she said like 90% of the time, wouldn't hear anything from them ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, regarding that question, right? Because they weren't even doing like any preliminary research, right? Or primary or secondary research, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
But really at the end of the day, you got to take some initiative to do it. And that's what happens a lot of times is people just, you go to these businesses and everybody goes to the owner or the manager every single time and asks the question, hey, what should I do on this? What should I do on that? And they're not empowering you. And what she was doing was trying to empower them to make their own decisions, empower them to do their own research. And because of that, as a business owner or as an employee, you become a lot more powerful because now you're making decisions on your own. And sometimes you're going to make a mistake, and that's okay that you're making a mistake, but you still need to be making that effort to make that mistake. And you're going to learn from those mistakes way more. But if you're just sitting there and just every single time you need to make a decision, oh, I got to talk to the manager, I got to talk to the owner, I got to do this. It came to the point at one of my jobs where my sales guys would make decisions, and guess what? I didn't always agree with them, but I would say, hey, you know what? I know you made this decision. I don't agree with it. Next time, this is what I would recommend doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I could sit there, reprimand them, write them up, and you shouldn't have done that and shouldn't have made that decision on your own. But then what you're doing is you're kind of pushing back on them to not empower them at all. And now you're just putting more onus on you to have to do more. Right.
It is the shift from teaching somebody what to do to teaching them how to decide what to do.
Yeah.
That's
the thing.
Component in business. And that's for us, that's what the aim is. When somebody comes to me and says, well, what should I do? And I'll turn it back on them and say, okay, well, what's going to transform thinking and improve lives? Which of our core values is this in line with or not? Which one does it violate? So I'll ask them, what do you think we should do? And I'll let them sit there and think through it for a minute. And then I'll give them the answer if they can't figure it out. But it's also about documenting what the choices are. Because it's, my team can be taught that and they can go Google it every time, but it's a balance, because if they Google it every time, my hope is that they realize I'm not the only one that can maintain the system. If they realize they had a question and they go figure out the answer, let's document that so that one innovation, that one curiosity serves everybody. And let's figure out a method by which we're going to document our systems and processes so that everyone has access, so that everyone can maintain them, so that it's not just me and my business partner making decisions and creating the system and the build out of it. You can document a process. Let me teach you how. And that's part of our onboarding. In their first week, they get taught, how do you document a process here? And when you find holes, because you're going to, because no one's perfect and we're definitely not.
Oh, yeah.
Here's how you document them. It's what's going to happen step by step. And it's what you're going to do if that doesn't work. Because so often that's where it goes off the rails, right? It's, I know what to do, but then if that doesn't work, I don't know what to do. Well, let's tell them. Let's have a process for what to do when shit goes wrong. So anyways, I could talk about this stuff forever.
Oh, no, this is awesome. We probably got to wrap this up. So you have any final words for any of the listeners?
Final words,
final wisdom, thoughts.
Yeah. Just choose one thing. If somebody doesn't take anything else away, that would be the one thing I'd say. Your customers will be well served, you will be well served if you will pick one thing and invest in the improvement. Just one. Like, look at the low-hanging fruit, figure out what your budget might be, make one adjustment and see if it gives you some relief.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It would just pick one thing, right? We overcomplicate it sometimes. Like, oh wait, I gotta change this and I gotta change this and I gotta change this. Like, it's okay. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to not have a perfect system. Nobody does. Can you step outside of the overwhelm and just one thing?
Yeah, that's great. It's the truth, though, right? You have to impact one thing at a time. Because if you have a list of 20 things, I'm going to impact all 20 of these things, then you're just like,
You're gonna get
you're all
overwhelmed.
over the place. You have no
Yeah.
focus. So find one thing, impact it if you
Yeah.
want to. And if
You
not,
could choose one thing.
the piranha's coming, right? So, but yeah, so how does everybody connect with you? Give us some your details or deets or
Sure. So if somebody wants to, we've talked about a lot of things, and I already mentioned it, but our podcast, Two Chicks in Your Cheddar, it's a deep dive into systems and processes and how to adjust when things go wrong, what to measure, what metrics to keep track of, how to keep track of them, how to create culture. So Two Chicks in Your Cheddar is a good resource. My business partner and I are both attached to that. And then if somebody is interested in working with us, then there's a contact form on our website, untied.work, untied.work. So
nice.
those are the two best places to send people. And my name's Andie Herrick. So I'm on Instagram as well. Love to connect with anyone who's interested.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is great. We went away from the normal 5 questions and we just talked about systems and processes, trying to get people, wired and fired up. But yeah, thanks a lot for coming on today. I think it was wicked.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It was great to be here.
Yeah, it's wicked. So thanks.